Happy Friday, everybody. We have made it. Why does it feel like it's been such a long week? I don't know, but it does. February 20th. Nice to be with you here at 10 a.m. We have another hour with you here from the Streaming Center, tracking a lot of big news, including the Colin Gray trial underway. We'll bring you some live testimony there in just a few minutes. Also watching the Supreme Court, a potential decision to come out of there regarding President Trump's tariffs. Does he have the authority to impose some of these broad-reaching tariffs? We will see if we get an opinion from the justices any minute now. But first, let's talk about the weather today. Meteorologist Melissa Nord joining us, and we've already seen some rain this morning.
We have seen some rain this morning. You were mentioning it's felt like a long week. I think
what's
that's because
up with that?
It's been a busy news week, but it's been so nice outside that everyone's been itching for the weekend to get here.
That's a great point. I think it is. I was sitting outside on my porch yesterday and almost broke a sweat.
We broke a record. So if you
Crazy.
broke a sweat, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. I mean, how close? Close to 80.
Yeah. I don't know if the official high was 79 or 80, but the old record was 135 years old.
Wow.
So pre-highways in Atlanta. Yes, pre-buildings and asphalt and skyscrapers, so all of that.
Puts it in perspective.
And hey, a nice day now. We've seen showers this morning, a few pockets of heavy rain, some gusty winds, and that has now exited the metro area. The sunshine back. That's our live camera from Decatur, looking good there, but still some clouds on the south side. Look at all those cars getting ready for a big race weekend at Echo Park Speedway down in Hampton. I think we've got two big race days coming up. We've got two different races tomorrow that Mr. Doug Turnbull's an expert on because he's making some calls for some radio there. Sunday, going to be a colder one, though, for the bigger 400-miler that's expected on Sunday. So you can see those showers, the last of them exiting. Clouds have thinned out. Sun shines back near and west and northwest of I-85. We're still hanging on to some of those clouds and a couple of showers down on the south side, but most of this is just about out of here. Still a couple of sprinkles coming down in Upson County. And that's about it. So those showers, downpours are heading into Macon now. What we're looking for, though, is that this front's not fully passing through and exiting forever. You see how there's showers lifting north across Mississippi and Louisiana? This front's going to kind of stall out. So that leaves us warm today, mostly dry the rest of the afternoon. But as rain develops to our west today, we'll see that pivoting back in here as we head closer to the overnight and tomorrow. So big picture forecast track, you can see more of those showers lifting north this afternoon. We'll see them moving through North Georgia first thing tomorrow morning. Then the bigger threat of thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon will be across central and southern Georgia. One last push of moisture coming in tomorrow night, and then that sunshine makes a comeback on Sunday, but it's going to come in with a bite because it is going to be a lot colder outside. We tracked some pockets of heavy rain this morning. We're not under any risk of severe weather. You know, they put out a level 1 yesterday, and Chesley and I both thought, that's a little overdone, but, you know, it is what it is. And we thought Saturday would be the more favorable day when we get to mid-morning through the early afternoon, mostly in central Georgia. Luckily, they've pulled that outlook further south for Saturday, so we really don't expect severe weather, but a few pockets of heavy rain overnight through early tomorrow morning and some rumbles of thunder possible. Here's the forecast track showing that timing this afternoon of the showers pushing to the south. We'll see a fair amount of sunshine for the next several hours. Clouds will build back in again this evening, but I don't expect a lot of raindrops out of those clouds. Don't be caught off guard if there's a shower, but overall it should be a nice mild afternoon. Temps in the mid-70s, pretty nice for evening plans as well. And then you can see that rain working back in overnight through early tomorrow morning. If we were to see a stronger thunderstorm, it would be from these storms south of I-20 tomorrow morning through the early afternoon. So could there be a stronger storm around 9 or 10 o'clock in LaGrange or Upson County, Pike, Lamar County? It's possible, but watch that activity pushing further south for the afternoon. That'll be more of the area that we watch for those stronger storms to develop. Meanwhile, we're actually going to have a decent Saturday afternoon. Here's the front coming through overnight around midnight. One last push of some rain, and then bundle up in some layers by Sunday. It won't be that cold, but it will be a shock to the system cold. So when you compare feeling like 80 with feeling like 40, that's a little bit of a difference outside, or a lot of a difference between just a couple of days. So outside right now feels springy, warm, humid out there. We're at 70 in Atlanta, 63 in Blairsville, and 66 in Eatonton with showers just exiting there. There could be a stray shower or two somewhere later on today, but most of us are going to stay dry the bulk of the rain chances for today are behind us. Then we see the rain building back in for tomorrow morning. Saturday, 70 degrees. Sunday, 51 for that high temperature. Saturday, Echo Park Speedway, we've got the FR8 racing starting at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Then later on after that, it's the Bennett 250. Don't ask me what kind of card they're using because I don't know, Dan. I'm not an expert on that. My house watches F1. We're not really in the FR8 and Bennett 250 category. But, hey, they're so excited for race weekend. And if you've never been to the old Atlanta Motor Speedway and Echo Park, grab some headphones, but it's a blast. It's a blast to be out there. Don't forget the sunscreen, even though it's going to feel colder on Sunday for the Auto Trader 400. The sun angle is stronger this time of year, going into late February, than what it is like in January when it was cold outside. So even though you may not think that you need, sunscreen, it's a good idea. When you're sitting out by the asphalt,
Right.
it's sunny. If you're there at like 2 o'clock or maybe noon, really early, you want to be dressing for the weather.
What's an appropriate age to take kids to a race? What would you say, 5?
How do they tolerate the headphones?
Well, I guess as long as they can keep them on their head,
Yeah.
it's not an issue, right?
Yeah, some families, it's a family thing.
Yeah.
They go to the racetrack. That's their weekend thing.
It'd be fun to go.
It would.
I've got it on my list now. Thank you.
And I think you can bring in your own coolers, too. So,
What?
free snacks, you bring them in yourself.
Wow.
I believe that's how NASCAR works,
Really?
where you can do that. And a few adult bevies.
My mind is blown. You can bring your own cooler to these things?
My husband went a couple years ago.
We're
They
gonna
took
fact-
a couple
we're gonna fact
brewskis with
check,
them.
but-
Then they
He might
bought
have just
some.
snuck that in his pocket and told you. I don't know. All right, Melissa, thanks so
Yeah.
much. Wow, you learn something new every day. Hey, we are just getting some breaking news, and I told you we were closely watching the Supreme Court, and this just coming in as Melissa was talking, and this is a major blow to the president. The Supreme Court ruling that President Trump exceeded his authority when imposing sweeping tariffs using a law reserved for a national emergency. That law, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, which was signed into law by President Carter from here in Georgia back in the 70s. So the justices decided in a 6-3 decision that the president's aggressive approach to tariffs on products entering the U.S. is not permitted under that law. So it is a setback from the president. We should note this does not affect all of President Trump's tariffs. For example, the steel and aluminum that he used using different laws, those will remain in place. But this really upends his tariffs in a couple different categories. One is country by country or reciprocal tariffs, which ranged as high as 34% for China to 10% baseline for the rest of the world. The other is a 25% tariff that he imposed on some goods from Canada, China, and Mexico for what the administration said was their failure to curb the flow of fentanyl. So those tariffs ruled a no-go by the Supreme Court this morning, and you see how the stock market is reacting. You see the bump right at 10 a.m. when the Supreme Court dropped this decision, though really not much of a bump at all. The Dow up some 70 points right now. We will look for reaction from President Trump as we speak right now. He is meeting with governors in the White House for the annual governor's breakfast. We heard him speak about 30 minutes ago at the start of that breakfast, but then he shooed the cameras out of there, and then he kind of convened with the governors behind closed doors, Reams.
Yeah, we're getting some analysis here from our team at NBC News. There are alternatives that apparently aides to the president have already been looking at for if and when this ruling came down. There's at least 2 other laws that he could try to use to have these tariffs that are now been ruled essentially unimposable to be able to try to bring those back. Uncertain if that is what his plan is going to be today. I'm monitoring the feeds right now to see if we can get any live reaction from him. As soon as we will, I will bring that to you. Nothing yet currently, though.
certainly not going to necessarily come as a surprise to the White House. They knew this was being considered by the court. So to Reem's point, they perhaps started looking at other alternatives, a worst case, best case scenario type situation. Well, they just got the worst case scenario for the White House with the Supreme Court ruling against the president here. And again, markets reacting. In a way, Reems, this is also going to affect consumers in a way. A lot of times businesses pass along the cost to consumer. I mean, it's economics 101. So could we get a little more money back in our wallet is a question.
I'm not an economist. From our previous reporting over the last year of this debate over tariffs, I'm uncertain. We've previously reported that a lot of the larger companies here have been particularly focused on making sure that they don't pass along those costs initially. They're getting a lot of pushback from the White House on passing along those costs.
Right.
So it's uncertain if what's going to happen there. I know a lot of these major conglomerates have been kind of eating those costs to keep both consumers happy and the administration happy. Uncertain what is going to happen there. Some other analysis coming in on this decision. This also appears to be the only decision that the Supreme Court will be bringing down today.
Okay.
I believe this is yes. Roberts, the Chief Justice
Right.
Roberts, wrote the opinion here today, reading in part based on 2 words separated by 16 others in the IEEPA. Roberts writes, regulate and importation. The president asserts independent powers to impose tariffs on imports from any country of any products at any rate for any amount of time. The Chief Justice writing, those words cannot bear such weight. So I think that is probably the crux of the argument that the Supreme Court was looking at of that regulation and importing of that. So we're going to get a lot more on this coming up.
Chief Justice John Roberts, a conservative on the heavily conservative court. I believe the decision, Reems, was 6-3. Have they said the 3 who dissented? I have not been able to find that yet.
I have not been able to see that.
We'll be interested.
I am seeing a concurring opinion by Gorsuch, so that would mean that he was one of those 6. His concurrence was 46 pages long. That appears to be long in the Supreme Court's mind, according to analysis that I'm reading right now.
Very interesting. We will keep another eye on this. And again, it is breaking news. We bring information like this to you as it happens. That big news coming out of D.C. right now, and the market's reacting. We're back in just a few minutes. You're watching 11Alive Plus. Good morning. We are back with some big news for families and students across Metro Atlanta. There is a brand new tuition-free public charter school focused on healthcare and STEM education. It's coming to Uptown Atlanta, and it is the first of its kind in Georgia. The Academy for Innovation in Medicine, also known as AIM, is opening this dedicated middle and high school, and its goal is to prepare some of these students for real-world healthcare careers. Joining us now is Christy Beam, CEO of the Academy for Innovation in Medicine. Christy, thanks so much for being here. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, congrats on this huge milestone. I mean, it almost sounds too good to be true. How is this different from normal middle and high schools?
Well, so what we have done is we have taken evidence-based strategies that are happening in schools, but we've combined them in a very, very unique way. And so we have taken the rigor of early college and STEM education and combined that with the relevance of CTAE and work-based learning. So what students get is skills, academic rigor, and the competence and credentials to be successful right out of high school, and then the opportunity the trajectory to advance their career, whether that's through advanced degrees all the way through medical school, or whether it's through additional credentials to increase their earning potential.
Give me an idea of what some of the courses look like. I mean, do you move biology up a little sooner, for example?
So for our sixth graders, yes, our goal is so we are opening in the fall with sixth and ninth grade. So our middle school students, our goal is that they earn at least 5 high school credits before they enter high school. However, we can expand or contract. It is a very tailored experience for students. So there is not one pathway that exists for all students. We tailor the experience to the students' goals, and we meet the students where they are. So because we are very focused on the healthcare and it is embedded into everything that we do, that's how students are able to complete their associate degrees, their credentials. We tailor our schedule for them to be able to achieve all of that by the end of high school.
So how many students can you take? Are you hiring for teachers right now? And how can I get my kid into the school?
Oh my gosh. Yes, yes, and yes. So we are definitely hiring teachers. Please reach out. We are accepting 260 students in our first year. Again, we are opening the middle and high school. So we're starting with 6th and 9th grade. We'll be expanding to 870 students by year 4 in grades 6 through 12. We accept students from DeKalb County, Fulton County, Clayton County, Cobb County, and City of Atlanta. So please visit us at aimgeorgia.org, and we would love to meet you, your student, and your families.
Hey, I still got some time with you. I want to ask you about this partnership you have with Grady. What kind of hands-on experience can you get, and at what age does that start?
Oh my gosh, we are so fortunate. The students are so fortunate. As you know, Grady Health System is one of the premier teaching hospitals in the country, and they have worked side by side with us to create this experience. It has grown out of their amazing summer program, the Teen Experience Leadership Program, which is actively enrolling students right now. That program is now being expanded times 100 to become the experience that students will, what students will experience at AIM. The professionals at Grady are right on board to build this experience really from 6th grade. So middle school is about that exploration, understanding what career pathways are. Healthcare is not just about doctors and nurses, it's about the whole healthcare ecosystem, and really learning from those professionals in the school building. In 9th and 10th grade, they begin to shadow and get those experiences in the hospital. And by 11th and 12th grade, they are embedded in those work-based learning internship clinical experiences at Grady.
You know, I'm glad you said it's not just nurses and doctors. I think a lot of kids these days, especially with the cost of college, are rethinking whether that 4-year degree is necessary. Are you preparing all the students for a college path, or is there an opportunity for them to, straight from high school, go into the medical field?
So our students will have the opportunity to be well prepared for well-paying jobs directly out of high school. But they certainly have the opportunity to continue on in their education, and we build those pathways for our students to be well prepared for college and career when they leave us. We are working with Grady to ensure that we are preparing students for the high demand careers and jobs that are actually waiting for them when they graduate, such as, professions in nursing, radiology, paramedic, pharmacy, et cetera, health informatics. So all of those areas, hospital administration, we want students to, to understand what's available to them, choose their pathway, and we will build the trajectory to help them get there.
Yeah, Christy, you say high demand, and you are not exaggerating. Georgia expected to have 100,000 open jobs in the healthcare industry by 2030, according to the chamber. Why do you think that is?
Healthcare is a challenging career. That is one thing that we also focus on with our students. It is a difficult job to care for others, and so we do work with our students again from day one. How do we create healthy selves, healthy community, and healthy world? How do we manage our own stress so that we can help others? That's why we are one of the main reasons that we are focused so heavily on healthcare. Is that it is a critical need in the state of Georgia and across the country, that if we don't address, it's going to have a devastating impact on all of us if we don't have enough healthcare professionals to care for us.
Yeah. Christy, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations again. I hope maybe we can come on campus in the fall and see things once the classrooms are up and running. Where can folks go for more information?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Please visit us at aimgeorgia.org. And again, we are welcoming 6th and 9th graders for the fall. Our first day of school with students is July 29th. So please visit us for more information. We should be starting tours in April once our building is complete. And we just look forward to seeing families join us.
Christy Beam, CEO of the Academy for Innovation in Medicine. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. You too.
All right, we are back in just a few minutes. You are watching 11Alive Plus. More on that breaking news we first told you about 20 minutes ago. As soon as it came down from the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land has struck down the majority of President Trump's tariffs, the ones that he was using under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. The stock market reacting favorably, though a bit muted at this time. We have also just learned the three justices who dissented. This was a 6-3 decision. Justices Clarence Thomas, Brett Kavanaugh, and Samuel Alito, all dissenting. 6 other justices, though, in favor of ruling that the president does not have the authority to impose these tariffs, Reams.
That's correct. More on those, what we're seeing there in the bottom right corner of your screen. The Dow currently up about 180 points. It's been fluctuating back and forth since this ruling came down. The U.S. dollar has jumped as well against the British pound, the euro, Japan's yen. That's a signal that investors are taking the Supreme Court's decision favorably. One of those dissenters, Justice Clarence Thomas, is citing the lack of historical precedent in ruling against the tariffs. So that's kind of interesting. They're kind of, instead of using the Supreme Court to set precedent, Thomas in his dissent wrote that neither statutory text nor the Constitution provide a basis for ruling against the president. He goes on to say the court has long conveyed to Congress that it may vest the president with large discretion in matters arising out of execution of statutes relating to trade and commerce with other nations. Going back to those arguments earlier last year, they appeared skeptical of the tariffs. Chief Justice John Roberts noted at that time that the imposition of taxes on Americans has always been core to the power of Congress, adding that the statute does not use the word tariff. So there's going to be a lot of back and forth going on with this over the next few days and weeks as they settle out what this all means, how the stock market's going to react, how economies around the world will react to this news,
Right.
What happens to businesses as they try to sort out how much they're going to be paying for things. Will they be? Are we going to see prices go down? Are we going to see prices stay the same? We know a lot of major businesses have been kind of eating those costs, just to say, to keep consumers and the administration happy.
Because these were not negligible numbers we're talking about here, like 34% reciprocal tariffs in China, and I believe 25% on goods in Canada and Mexico as well.
The lowest percentage was 10.
10.
And that was to a lot of nations, including, I believe it was the Heard of McDonald Islands, where there's just penguins.
It'll be interesting to get the administration's reaction.
I'm
the president,
looking for it still.
Yes, the president with a bunch of governors right now at a breakfast, and officials within the administration have said they expect to keep the tariff framework in place, perhaps under different authorities. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. We're also keeping an eye on the Colin Gray trial underway right now. It is day 5, and you are taking a live look now at Colin Gray, who is sitting next to his defense attorneys as a GBI crime scene specialist, is taking the stand, talking about some of the evidence found within the Gray home. Let's listen in. Well, actually, the jury now leaving, and they are taking a recess at this point, so we're going to figure out what that's about. I can tell you the GBI special agent who was testifying for the last hour showed some photographs that was taken inside the Gray home after the shooting happened when they got the search warrant. They showed photos of boxes with ammunition, also some bullets. They analyzed the crime scene, and also the defense attorneys were questioning some of the value of those photos. There was also a tactical style vest at one point that was shown. So we'll keep an eye on that as it goes to recess. In the meantime, we're taking a quick break. You are watching 11Alive Plus. Good Friday morning, everybody. 10:30. Great to be with you here from the Streaming Center for the next 30 minutes on this Friday morning. Happy to bring in one of our investigators, Savannah Levins, this morning. Savannah, we were just talking with a guest. Their goal is to try to get more people into the healthcare industry because the chamber says that by 2030, Georgia is going to have 100,000 open jobs. 100,000 open jobs in the healthcare industry. And we're starting to hear about some of the effects of that.
Yeah, definitely. Very much needed. And, I think the Atlanta VA hospital has not been immune to those shortages. They've been pretty open about that they've been trying to fill jobs. And yeah, the trickle down impacts definitely occur. And in this case, we're talking about a veteran who went to the Atlanta VA ER, actually lives up in Cleveland, so it was a bit of a hike, to address some stomach gastrointestinal issues that his VA physician said was emergent, said, go ahead, go down to Atlanta, get this figured out, and ended up waiting a very long time to be seen, so reached out to us.
Okay, let's check it out.
This is in Hungary. Well, I was young then.
Rick Ravan proudly served his country.
Eagle Base.
Yeah, that's
Bosnia.
But when his health spiraled, he says the system meant to care for him didn't.
It feels like hell.
Rick joined the Army in 1999 and deployed overseas.
This was right after 9/11.
Today, he lives with debilitating gastrointestinal illness, sometimes so severe he says he stops eating just to cope.
I have a chair that I put in front of the toilet with a pillow, and that's where I sleep at night.
On November 10th, Rick's VA physician sent him to the Atlanta VA Medical Center emergency room for urgent evaluation. His wife Brandy behind the wheel for the agonizing 2-hour drive from their home in Cleveland, Georgia.
He's doubled over in pain from stomach cramps.
What followed, they say, was hours of waiting with no updates.
I went up to the window, I'm like, man, we've been here 8 hours and there's no one here. And she kind of smirked at me and says, well, most people wait 8 to 9 hours.
He took photos and videos of what looked like a near-empty waiting room and conditions he says are unacceptable.
The restroom floors were absolutely filthy. The whole hospital was just dirty.
After 8 hours, they say they were finally taken back, but the problems continued.
The bed sheets were so dirty, I didn't want to lay on them. The bed had a tag on it that says, do not use broken.
Rick says the ER doctor provided Tylenol and ran some tests, then asked whether he had private insurance.
And I said, no, sir. He said, well, if you did, we'd send you somewhere else. And then he left. At that moment, I was in so much pain, I could have just laid down on the floor and died, and I think they'd have let me.
Eventually, he ripped out his own IV and walked out the front doors. 12 hours, he says, after they'd walked in. By then, it was November 11th. Veterans Day.
We got in the car and my wife cried the whole 2-hour ride home. It was absolutely, I've never been so ashamed to be somewhere and treated like I was a burden.
And they have had 12 hours to get something done.
The VA declined our multiple requests for interview for this story, but did send an emailed statement saying, quote, although staff evaluated this particular veteran within 10 minutes of his arrival, the veteran had to wait several hours for a bed to become available as we attended to more urgent patients. We're also told the VA added 5 additional beds to the emergency department the same month as Rick's visit. We reviewed the latest inspection report of the Atlanta VA hospital, published in June 2025. It flagged multiple issues, including waterline breaks that flooded the ICU, non-functioning AC units, outdated medical supplies, and outdated policies on communicating test results. Rick says he didn't get his norovirus positive results until 6 days later in a brief 11 p.m. phone call.
I says, why did you wait this long? And he's like, well, I don't know, but we just want to let you know. Good night. Hung up.
Rick's symptoms continue to persist, but he says his trust in the VA system ended that day, leading him to move on to private insurance, something many veterans can't access or afford.
I'm just done with it.
It's got to be a big cost that he's paying right now with that private insurance.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he showed us bills for thousands of dollars. Unfortunately, he doesn't have any answers yet, but he figured for himself that that would be the best avenue to find them.
Well, I would have loved for the VA to go on camera with you. I'm sure you had a number of follow-up questions for them. They say they've added 5 beds. Is that going to be enough to cut down?
What's odd about that, too, is I asked, when were those added? They said November. I said, well, before or after this veteran's visit? And then they didn't elaborate. So I don't know. 5 additional beds, to your point, is staffing an issue, potentially. And I think that's why I wish the VA would have gone on with me to explain what those gaps are and then how do we address them. I mean, is it recruiting from local hospitals? Is it more funding that's needed? I mean, the Atlanta VA healthcare system operates on a $1.9 billion budget annually. And that's why when we're talking about wait times, we're not talking about any old hospital. These are our tax dollars at work.
Have you heard similar complaints when it comes to VA wait times?
I have. I mean, to be honest, I think you'll run this story, and a lot of people sitting watching at home right now will have some sort of similar story about waiting a long time in any ER.
Right.
I mean, I think the staffing is a big thing. Budgets for the ER, or for the VA, they always say are pretty difficult. So yes, I in the VA in particular, although they say now the wait times are only a few minutes on average, according to the VA. And they also did since reach out saying that as to the broken bed, they say it was the handle that was broken, not the bed itself. And as for the results coming in 6 days later, they said, well, he left against medical advice. If he had stayed, he would have gotten his results right then. And they say their standard for communicating results is 7 days. So they reached out to him 6 days after he went in.
Why did he feel the need to speak up? Why did he approach you?
It's funny, I asked him that exact same question. He said, my son is in the Army right now. He's coming up in the Army helicopter program. And he says, I want someday, if he's sick, for the system that promised to take care of him to fulfill that promise. And so, he was sharing the story, even though now he's moved on to private insurance. He said, I'm just done with the VA. You heard that in the story. But he said, he wants to raise awareness so that potentially something could be done and we could address whatever that gap is that caused this to happen.
Even years after his service, he's still making his country better.
Yeah.
Savannah, thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Good to be with you here on 11Alive Plus. We're back in just a few minutes. President Trump called the Supreme Court case, a ruling that came down this morning, one of the most important in U.S. history. And he said a ruling against him would be an economic blow to the country. This morning, the stock market reacting a bit muted, but although favorably ever since that decision came down at 10 o'clock this morning when the court struck down the president's far-reaching global tariffs, a big loss to the White House on an issue crucial to his economic agenda. It was a 6-3 decision centering on some of the big tariffs on countries that he unilaterally imposed under an Emergency Powers Act that was first written into law under Jimmy Carter back in the 1970s. And that included the sweeping reciprocal tariffs that the White House levied on nearly every other country, including 35% on Canada, all the way down to 10% on some other countries. We're starting to get some reaction right now, including from Senator Raphael Warnock from Georgia. And I'm reading this to you as I'm first getting it. He says this ruling is welcome relief for families who are struggling with higher prices as a direct result of this president's policies. I hope that instead of pursuing other avenues to impose these expensive taxes on Americans, the president centers the people and works to make life more affordable. Affordability has been a big topic. In fact, President Trump spoke on it just yesterday on his visit here to Rome, Georgia, when he spoke with some small businesses. He actually went to the Varsity at one point, ordered some burgers for folks on Air Force One. And you're looking at video, in fact, from the Varsity, President Trump arriving yesterday afternoon to Rome, Georgia. We have not yet heard reaction from the president this morning after we got this 6-3 decision. The three justices dissenting on this, and I'm going off memory here, Alito, Kavanaugh, and Thomas. Yes, Justices Clarence Thomas, Brett Kavanaugh, and Samuel Alito, all dissenting there. It was John Roberts, I believe, who wrote the opinion. Reams?
Major small business group, the Main Street Alliance. They represent about 30,000 small business owners. We're just getting their statement. They are applauding the court's decision and calling for refunds. Quote, the administration framed these tariffs as strengths. What our members experienced was chaos. Rates jumped overnight. No phase in, no planning horizon. The group writing in that statement, adding, the court just reminded everyone that emergency powers are not a blank check. Now the focus should be on refunding the businesses that were effectively taxed under an unlawful framework. That is from Main Street Alliance, or an organization that reps 30,000 small business owners, on their reaction to the latest statement. The European Union, we are just also getting in their statement. They're the America's largest trading partner. They're carefully analyzing today's ruling. Quote, we remain in close contact with the U.S. administration as we seek clarity on the steps they intend to take in response to this ruling. That's according to Olaf Gill, the European Commission's trade spokesperson. They negotiate international trade matters on behalf of the EU's 27 member countries. So this is going to be a major international impact.
Yeah, and potentially could be tied up in the courts for a while after getting this opinion. Reams, the Treasury says they collected more than $133 billion from the import taxes that the president had imposed under the Emergency Powers Act. So we're talking about some big money here in play, and the administration may at least attempt to find another way to keep the tariffs going.
And something the president has also said in the past year that he has been in office is that he's kind of doled out. He's talked about those facts of the tariffs have been bringing in a certain amount of money, and has been promising refunds, bailouts, rebates to different smaller groups based off of those tariff refunds. So potentially he's been promising money that could now be having to go back to consumers.
Interesting. Okay. It's far from over, folks, but that Supreme Court decision coming down 45 minutes ago, President Trump himself said it could be one of the most important Supreme Court decisions of his time. All right, more fallout now underway in the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Investigations still underway as more of the DOJ's release starts to come to light. Former Prince Andrew, across the pond, spent about 11 hours in police custody after he was arrested on suspicion of misconduct while in public office, and French authorities now urging Epstein survivors to come forward in that country. This is a story touching all parts of the globe. Really remarkable. NBC's Alice Barr reports.
Hi there. Lawmakers who've been pushing the Jeffrey Epstein investigation are celebrating the arrest of the former prince as a metric of success and pressing for more accountability here, while the UK grapples with the first arrest of a senior British royal since the 1600s. This morning, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is out of custody but not in the clear after UK police arrested the former prince Thursday on suspicion of misconduct in public office after detectives reviewed documents revealed in the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files.
Your Majesty, how are you feeling after your brother's arrest?
King Charles, in a formal statement, pledged full support for the investigation into his brother as the world reacts.
I think it's a shame. I think it's very sad.
The former prince has not been charged with a crime, though police say he remains under investigation. Among the Epstein files the Justice Department released, emails Mountbatten Windsor allegedly sent to Epstein in 2010, appearing to share British government documents following the former prince's overseas visits as a trade envoy. In separate allegations, the late Virginia Roberts Giuffre had for years publicly accused the former prince of sexually abusing her when she was 17, which he denied. Her family reacted to the arrest.
A piece of justice that Virginia has been fighting for this entire time.
Investigations underway here in the U.S. with former President and Secretary of State Bill and Hillary Clinton now set to be deposed next week before the House Oversight Committee after photos of the former president appeared in the Epstein files. The Clintons have not been accused of any wrongdoing. Billionaire Les Wexner appeared before the committee this week regarding his ties to Epstein. He denied knowing about Epstein's crimes and has not been charged.
I was conned by the world Olympic all-time con artist.
I think that is bogus.
Lawmakers promising to keep pushing for accountability. In other developments, officials in New Mexico launching a new investigation into what happened at Zorro Ranch, where Epstein is accused of trafficking and abusing girls and young women. One Epstein survivor now set to be a lawmaker's guest at next week's State of the Union. In Washington, I'm Alice Barr. Back to you.
Alice Barr reporting. All right, more news from here at home. The Colin Gray trial, which we've been showing you all morning long, currently in recess. We will let you know when that resumes, potentially in the 11 o'clock hour. Just kidding. The judge just walked back in. Let's listen. That's Judge Nicholas Prim. I'll give him a moment. Once he's prepared to speak, we will dip into his comments. This is day 5 of the trial. We've already heard a few witnesses called up. The defense team speaking now. All right, so the prosecution already continuing to call more witnesses, as we've seen this morning. They have called 50 plus already in the last few days. This morning, it was a GBI special agent who was testifying on the stand. She was charged with executing the search warrant at the house at Colin and Colt Gray's home hours after the shooting back in September of 2024. Let's talk about yesterday. Prosecutors yesterday shifted their focus to warning signs they say Colin ignored about his son's mental health. Employees with DFACS took the stand, testifying they checked on the family for years. Colin had full custody of Colt and his 2 siblings after his mother tested positive for drugs, and Colt reported physical abuse in the home. A school counselor also testified that Colt made some troubling searches online. She said that one of the words that was flagged was abuse. Another flagged word was how to kill your dad. We also heard from a Jackson County deputy who took the stand, one of the officers who visited the Grays' home a year prior, after the FBI investigated Colt for allegedly making threats about shooting up a school in an online chat room. That deputy, though, testified that they never followed back up because they were never able to confirm that those threats came from Colt. As you are once again looking live into the courtroom, the defense team taking their seats, Judge Nicholas Prim also taking a seat, the jury about to walk in. So I'll continue to fill you in here as the jury takes their seats. It's going to be silent here for a bit. It was only about a 10-minute recess. Reem, some more interesting things to come out of this morning's testimony, and we were kind of going back and forth here, but we did see that GBI special agent who was charged with searching the home at one point hold up a tactical style vest, presumably from inside.
Correct. Then they were also showing photos from throughout the house this morning. They were showing I believe it was a case for a Glock, a handgun of some type, as well as a gun lock. In that same piece of evidence, uncertain if that was connected to the weapon used in the shooting or not.
There's also long been talk about a shrine to Nicholas Cruz inside the house, the Parkland High School shooter.
Yes, we did get a first look at that today in his room. There was a shrine, essentially, of photographs of Nicholas that were shown, attesting to kind of what the scene was like inside of his room in those days and weeks leading up to the shooting.
I believe to start the day, before the jury even walked in, the defense was trying to argue that some of that evidence should be inadmissible, but ultimately the judge ruling at least the vast majority of it was going to be A-OK to show in court, and the jury indeed saw a lot of it, as did a lot of you if you were watching along live. As a reminder, you can watch and stream this trial right now for free on your TV on the 11Alive Plus, where you're watching right now. Just scroll down and then over, or if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, download the 11Alive Plus app, scroll down and then over to our alternate streaming channel where you can start watching this trial. Keep up to date with it. We are on day 5, and to be honest, Reams, they're showing no signs of slowing down. This has been the prosecution's week. They continue to call witness after witness, and then after this, it's going to be the state's opportunity to call witnesses.
The defense, yes. After the prosecution,
I'm sorry. Thank you. Yes,
finishes up, the defense will be able to attest to their case. This is going to be a multi-week trial. We could be looking at 3 or 4 weeks of this trial. Usually, that seems to be common. This is a first of its kind here in Georgia, so that will help determine a lot of future cases, potentially.
And when Reem says first of its kind, it's because the father here is charged. Of course, the son also charged, but he has yet to face a judge and a jury. In fact, he has yet to have a trial date set. Yes, he has faced a judge in a preliminary hearing and whatnot, and a number of hearings since then, but no trial date yet set for the accused shooter, the teenager, Colt Gray, the son of Colin, who is facing a jury this week as they take a seat. We believe that means the jury now in the room, and they are ready to call their next witness. I'm sorry, Reams is listening in and says perhaps there's another delay in bringing the jury in. Yeah, so we'll just keep an eye on that. Perhaps we should move on to some other news then, Reams. But I said perhaps we should move on to some other news. There was another big update to come out of court yesterday in Athens, Clark County.
Yes.
This was the cold case of Tara Baker, which we had brought you for the last couple weeks, some 25 plus years after her death. She was murdered in 2001 in her home there, sexually assaulted, stabbed, strangled, and then her bed set on fire. Well, this week, a jury convicted Edric Faust of the murder, and he was just sentenced. You see him here yesterday, and the decision was that he would serve 2 consecutive life sentences plus 45 years in confinement after a jury found Faust guilty this week in the murder of Tara Baker. And Baker's mother even shared a statement read by her son-in-law. Here's a snippet of that statement.
The person who took her lived in complete opposition to everything she stood for. His actions were selfish, depraved, without compassion or regard for the lives he destroyed. Our family had never known violent crime before that day. Her absence still wounds her siblings, her friends, and all who loved her. The pain is constant, even in moments that should be joyful.
Perhaps a little bit of closure for that family now, the Baker family, who has waited 25 plus years for answers and for justice in the senseless and brutal murder of their loved one. All right, we love to bring you a good Joe Ripley story. We try to do it just about every day. He tells great community stories around here. And Reams, I can't find his script. It's here somewhere. Oh, I found it. All right, I want to give you the proper setup, folks, as we go to the story from Joe Ripley. And this is about drivers in Alpharetta getting a smoother ride today now that construction is complete on Kimball Bridge Road. If you live there, I can hear the applause in Alpharetta right now. Let's get more from Joe.
Kristen Winsler is overjoyed on an overcast day. The executive director for the True North 400 Community Improvement District considers the traffic issues here in Alpharetta water under the bridge.
Very beautiful, aesthetic bridge. However, because of some of the issues with right-of-way and utilities, GDOT was not able to get all the way to where those improvements start for the city,
leaving a gridlock-prone gap on Kimball Bridge Road, which connects homes and businesses on a stretch that overlooks Georgia 400.
It's about a 500-foot gap, which seems small, but has really kind of created a bottleneck for the community. So we were able to come in and build out that gap. We widened the roadway, we added the lighting, we added the amenities, and it's now just one continuous improvement.
The construction, a testament to the partnership between city and state. GDOT spent $18 million to replace the bridge. The city of Alpharetta then widened the road with $16 million. True North 400 added the final piece, spending just over $1 million on the project.
Everyone was very in favor of this project. However, everyone's very busy. Everyone has a lot of needs and priorities, and this project just wasn't a priority, and so we were able to take it and make it ours.
Winsler says as the 400 Express Lanes project gets underway, it's vital to make sure those traveling around it, whether walking around or behind the wheel, can get around safely and smoothly.
Not only is it safer for pedestrians, but also it now is 2 lanes instead of 1. Whether you're walking or driving over Kimball Bridge, you have one smooth movement.
Joe Ripley, 11Alive News.
Breaking news, the grandmother in the Gray case, the Colin Gray case we've been telling you about, has now taken the stand. Let's listen in to Deborah Paul Hamus.
Your daughter is who?
Marcy.
And that is Colt's mother?
Yes.
Okay. And what do you do?
I'm a retired educator.
Okay. And how long were you an educator?
43 years.
Okay. And where do you live?
I live in Fitzgerald, Georgia.
Okay. And how far away is that from here?
About 4 hours.
Okay. And so you said you were Colt's grandmother?
Yes.
What did he call you?
Mamu.
Mamu?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is that spelled a certain way or just?
M-A-M-O-O.
Okay. So are you one of those grandparents that doesn't see your grandkids very often, or are you a grandparent that's fully immersed in their lives?
No, I've tried to be fully immersed.
Okay.
With all of them. My other 3 are in Florida.
Okay. I'm about to say, do you have other children?
Yes.
Okay. And where do they live?
Toby lives in Columbus, and Annie lives in Tavares, Florida.
Okay. Do you have other grandchildren?
Yes. Annie has 3.
Okay.
Toby has 2.
Okay. So in the hierarchy of your grandchildren by age, where does Colt fall?
Colt is the 3rd grandchild.
Okay. And in this family, where does he fall?
In his family?
Uh-huh.
He's the oldest.
Okay. When Colt was younger, did he have issues with impulsivity, having a short fuse?
Impulsivity more than a short fuse.
Okay. Do you remember talking to a GBI agent by the name of Agent Maddox back in, I believe that was September of 2024?
I guess. I mean, I talked to a lot of them.
Okay.
I don't remember all their names.